time is ticking for Louisiana residents to get a game plan before hurricane season starts. The NOAA is predicting an especially active year, which means preparation is even more crucial. The head of GOHSEP came to our studio to give us some tips on how to get ready. This hurricane season is expected to be more severe than previous years, and some climatologists are even predicting that the systems may be so violent that it could necessitate another hurricane category, which is pretty scary to think about. Do these predictions alter how Louisiana should prepare for the season?
No, we prepare the same way every year, no matter whether we're going to get an active season or not an active season. We start every February, and we have about 6 events that we run through between February and May. And it culminates with a statewide exercise of all state agencies and all 64 parishes. And then we finalize it with the Louisiana Emergency Management Conference, which happens in mid-May, and we bring all the emergency management officials together in a conference, and we talk about actual hurricane prep and all hazards prep. So for us, we've been preparing since February. And now for the next 2 months, as we open hurricane season next week, we will prepare with all the parishes, all 64 parishes, and all 330 municipalities.
What about the people in Louisiana, just regular residents here? Should they prepare differently?
Well, the first thing that I tell everyone is to listen to your local officials. We have a website called getagameplan.org, and it's designed to help you get through the process. But really the root of everything, of hurricane preparation, all hazard preparation, is with that local officials. So when local officials are going through the process and they're going through their preparation, and they're telling you now, prepare for hurricane season, you need to. You need to take these next 2 months of June and July and prepare yourself. So a lot of people ask me, well, what does that mean? Like, what is a plan? How do I develop a plan? If you go to getagameplan.org, it shows you, first thing you want to do is you want to prepare an emergency kit. Then you want to have not only an evacuation plan, but a shelter-in-place plan. So you know, maybe if you can't get out, you have the ability to prepare. And then your plan needs to concern your businesses, your family, and of course your pets. And then you need to stay informed and make sure you're prepared and ready for hurricane season.
And part of the preparation is understanding what your evacuation routes are. And, you know, that's another concern this season in particular because, you know, some climatologists are using studies that are showing that hurricanes are developing faster. So will that impact Louisiana's evacuation routes?
Absolutely it does. And what we've seen over the last 5 or 10 years, it's extreme concern for us as emergency managers because it compresses your timeline. Where we used to have 5 days to prepare, you now have only 3 days to prepare. Well, the decisions stay the same. It just means you have to make the decisions more in a rapid fashion and more deliberately for the people. What we tell everyone is listen to what those local officials say. The first thing you're going to hear is you're going to hear a local official say there's a voluntary evacuation of your area. That's significant. That means they're telling you to get out. In most cases, you'll get a voluntary evacuation at about 3 days before a storm. So that local official who is in combined with GOHSEP and the National Weather Service and the National Hurricane Center will come up with a voluntary evacuation. Then it may progress to a mandatory evacuation. And then the worst case scenario for Southeast is if you have a contraflow evacuation. Now, what we try to tell everyone, a lot of individuals try to go east or west. And you don't know if you go east or west, you don't know if you're going in the appropriate area because the storm track may change. We recommend everyone to go north and use the I-49 and the Highway 61 corridors and the I-55 corridors to go north. If you try to go east or west, you could very likely go right directly into the path of the storm.
Has that happened in past years with Laura or Ida?
It has happened because what will occur is, particularly with Hurricane Ida, that was 3 days before a storm, was a tropical storm and was not really on a path, and it shifted more towards a populated area. Hurricane Laura was in the west side of the state and was on a track, but if you would have gone for Hurricane Laura to the west, you would have been impacted in western Louisiana and eastern Texas.
All right, so the recommendation is go north.
Go north, yes ma'am.
So we've been talking a lot about, of course, these hurricanes are going to be more severe and they're developing faster, but are we at the point where hurricanes are similar to tornadoes where they're just going to be coming quickly and we don't really know when the next one will hit?
The interesting thing about it is we just had a round of tornadoes And we're not as experienced with tornadoes as we are with hurricanes. I think you have to look at it from the standpoint of it's an all hazards plan. What worries me the most in Louisiana is water more than wind. Now, tornadoes are very bad and very difficult, and they're very intense in small portions. What you'll see with a hurricane is a larger area, but you have more time to predict it, obviously, than 4 hours for a tornado. But the water is what concerns us the most. Wind damage, straight line wind damage, and that aspect, but storm surge and flooding and water surge actually is the most dangerous. It's where we've had most of the fatalities in the last 20 years.
All right, so everybody knows the motto, it's get a game plan, and that it only takes one storm to create a disaster. But what do people need to know about going into this hurricane season specifically?
Well, specifically, when you listen to the National Weather Service and they talk about one of the most active hurricane seasons we've had in the last 20 years, I have a saying that I use that kind of puts it in perspective. You can never win against Mother Nature. The best you can do is fight to a draw. And from our standpoint in emergency management, if we have an event and we have nobody get hurt and no fatalities, it's been a good day. So we gauge our response and our preparation in getting the message out to people. Please heed the warning of your local officials. And if you have the opportunity to leave, please leave. Evacuate. It's always going to be safer somewhere the further inland you get.
All right, well, we are out of time. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you very much for the opportunity.